I just want to thank everybody for taking time. I know everybody's busy, and so thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us. Just to be really clear, this is not a sales pitch. This is not trying to direct you to any particular AI or modality of AI or artificial intelligence. It's also not intended to drive you directly to a BPO firm, but I think it makes sense to me because as a consultant, we talk to lots of clients, and the question's always around artificial intelligence and what are you seeing, what are you hearing, and it made sense to us at Site Selection Group to bring on experts, guys that live in this and have made the mistakes and gone through the highs and lows and know how to direct their clients, et cetera, et cetera. So what I really want to talk about is just really what is working with artificial intelligence in the BPO worlds and maybe where's there's still a gap. I think I've been in this industry for 40 years. I think it's the most overhyped and overmarketed shift in this space that we've ever seen. I do remember in 1986, they told me the IVR would replace everybody too. So that quite hasn't happened. But with that said, my name is Michael Replogle. I am the Senior Vice President of Outsourcing Advisory Services for Site Selection Group. Just quick note on who we are. We're a global advisory firm. We help companies optimize locations, finding the right location with data. We help outsource. We help operational strategy decisions. Again, all through it's data-driven advisory. I also have on the call two men that I've worked with for quite some time, many years. I respect immensely in terms of the cultures they create within their organizations and how they lead their organizations and how they've adopted artificial intelligence to really make it a value add. I think a lot of BPOs at one time thought it was a nice to have. Now it's a must have if you're going to be successful in the space. So on the call, I have Dominic Leide, who is the president of the Office Gurus, and I have Sid Victor, who is the corporate vice president and head of client partnerships for Movate. So Dom, why don't you take it from there?
Sure. Thanks, Michael. And I'm definitely excited about the discussion today. It's hard for me to believe, even when I say it out loud, but I started in this industry back in 1998. I think they coined a phrase to describe what happened to me. I've heard something like the accidental career, and that's exactly what happened. What began as a part-time job while I was in college turned into something that, I just genuinely fell in love with. It kind of got in my blood, and has become an incredibly rewarding career. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to see, this industry evolve through offshoring, the introduction of the National Do Not Call list, digital transformation, omni-channel, and now what is the biggest shift we've seen yet, and the most exciting, in my opinion, which is AI. It's helped TOG transition from a traditional BPO to what we're calling an experience process outsourcer. Today, like Michael said, I'm the president and co-founder of the Office Gurus, or TOG. TOG was founded in 2008. We're a wholly owned subsidiary of the publicly traded Superior Group of companies. We operate across 5 countries, spanning onshore, nearshore, and offshore delivery, with just under 5,000 employees. So again, looking forward to the discussion. And with that, I'll kick it over to Sid.
Thanks, Tom. Equally excited to be part of this discussion. Thanks for having me, Michael. Personally, extremely passionate about the topic, not just AI, but anything that has an impact to customer experience. And that, as we all know, AI has had the most transformational impact in the shortest time of any of the technologies that we've seen have changed and transformed this industry. Much like Dom, this was an accident. It started out as a part-time job that was supposed to last 6 months, and here I am at Movate 23 years later. Actually, to the day, I completed 23 years today. I just got the note from the company. Uh,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anniversary.
Uh, Movate is a digital engineering company that also does BPO. And I say that very intentionally, though supports about two-thirds, maybe a little bit more of the company's revenue, because it inherently changes the way we think about and execute BPO operations and transformation to drive compounding impact across the customer experience lifecycle. So we're a BPO company who's been in the business over the last 30 years that leverages applied AI to transform support from a CX vantage point. So we like to think of ourselves as a managed services experience transformation provider rather than just a business process outsourcer. Once again, thank you for having me. Michael, I'll kick it back to you.
Sounds good. I assume everybody can see this okay. I just got a note that somebody's saying they're having trouble seeing something. So hopefully you can hear us okay. Let's just go from here. Okay. So getting into the questions really quick, I want to just kind of give a reality snapshot of what I see consistently with the feedback I receive is, what is working well. I think there's a lot of forms of artificial intelligence that are helping with respect to agent assist, helping them provide quicker responses, increasing FCR, increasing customer effort scores, driving a better outcome. Summarization or transcription of the phone conversation, obviously that's going to be a reduction in handle time, which everybody loves the opportunity to reduce OpEx. And then obviously QA, auto QA, that seems to make a significant difference when you can manually listen to a handful of calls versus listen to the entire universe of calls. So that seems to be working. One of the things I hear quite often, I think it's also backed by data, is there's a lot of concerns with the overhype of the pilot and what's reality from a pilot to full rollout production. And so I hear a lot of people getting stalled in the pilot phase and never making it to full production rollout. For example, McKinsey did a study in 2025 in the state of AI and said that 66 to 70% of pilots never materialize into full production rollout. And I think, Dom, you had mentioned the other day that you saw another study recently by RAND that's now 80%. So there's a lot of data out there from Boston Consulting Group, Gartner, McKinsey. They're all saying the same thing. So Dom, I want to talk about that. What are you seeing with respect to what's rolling out into production? What's getting stalled in pilot? Why is it getting stalled in pilot? And what are some of the things you see on that topic?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. You could probably fill the rest of the 45 minutes answering, but I'll try to keep it short. I'm sure there's people that are listening now or will listen to this later. When they hear those percentages, they can be shocking. But you mentioned several sources, MIT, Gartner, Forrester, they've all published stats similar to that this year, in Q1. And at TOG, we're talking to prospective and existing clients all the time about their AI journeys, and this is the reality.
Mhm.
And when you think about the process, AI is being discussed, in every company today. Executive leadership meetings, board meetings, strategy sessions, budgeting meetings, and executive C-level in the C-suite, they're asking questions about what are we missing out on? What AI should we be leveraging to make us better, faster, and more efficient? And the next step from there is these department leaders go on these demo tours, and when they get demos of these great products, they're in highly controlled environments. The prompts are clean, the workflows are simplified, the data is structured perfectly, the questions are predictable.
Mhm.
There's no edge cases, there's no escalations, and they're blown away by what they see, and they should be. I mean, it's exciting, and they believe they found the silver bullet to solve their problem. So they take this excitement now and they quickly move into a pilot, which is smart, a smaller use case. But what they learn quickly, even in a pilot, is that real production environment is a lot different than that curated demo. In production, customers interrupt, customers get emotional, policies change, knowledge bases are outdated, systems don't talk to each other, workflows are broken, and edge cases and escalations happen. And I think this is one of the biggest disconnects in the market right now is it's underappreciated the lift that's required to realize the outcomes in production, especially production at scale, that originally sold you during that demo.
Mhm.
What I will say is when AI is done right, it has the ability to remove most of the friction from an interaction. And we say it cleans the slate for our agents so they can really focus their attention on what's important and creating a real connection with that customer and providing a great experience. But to do that reliably, it's created a new type of complexity, in the operation. For me personally, and I'm sure Sid would agree, we've yet to find an AI technology that's just set it and forget it. Find a problem, put AI on top of it, and it just takes care of everything. For AI to work in production requires a lot more than just a great model. It requires AI governance, things that we never had before, security reviews, compliance oversight. It takes a whole level of operational ownership where you're QAing the AI. When you find opportunities, you're retraining the AI. You need escalation management, edge case workflows. And then again, it's not set and forget it. So you need an entire plan to continually optimize the solution. And I think the last thing that often gets overlooked and plays a major role is the importance of adoption and just overall organizational confidence in the tool. You could have the best AI tool. You could even set up the appropriate support and operational rigor, but it's going to fail if employees don't understand how to use it and it doesn't make their job easier, or they don't trust the outputs. And we all know in the operation, once confidence is lost, adoption drops quickly. You start seeing workarounds because agents and frontline staff are going to figure out how to do their job. And that's about the time that the organization often abandons the initiative before it ever reaches meaningful scale. I really break it down into three common mistakes, and I probably could have just led with this and saved us time on why pilots fail
No, this is
before
good.
making it to production. It's companies that lead with the technology instead of starting with the customer or the operational problem that they're trying to solve, and then ensuring that the current workflows are solid and the data is there to support the tool. In other cases, you have organizations that really implement AI just because they feel the pressure to say, we're using AI, not because they've already clearly defined the outcome they want to improve. And then lastly, it's that lack of operational rigor to support the AI. Not having this new layer of support that is required, to ensure the tool can be successful at scale.
That's good, Dom. Sid, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, and I completely agree with that, Don.
Yep.
I think you nailed it on what the top ticket items are, right? Just to kind of double click on one of the things that you said that really stuck out to me. A lot of times companies rush into these implementations, even at the pilot phase, then attempt to scale it, realize it's not solving real problems for agents, so adoption fails. And then what's happening is having to recoil and go and fix it, try to redo it. You've already lost half that battle because now the agents are skeptical about anything new you're trying to introduce with as much change as you try to do. So when you don't have a proper plan strategy in place and try to drive a lot of this with urgency, failed pilots going back restructuring is significantly harder to get adoption to scale. So ensuring that first pass checks all the boxes, make sure that it addresses the end state you require it to before rolling it out, I think is critical in making sure that success can be compounded.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So Sid, that lead transitions into our next topic or bullet we want to talk about a little bit. So what has actually changed operationally versus what we expected to change? And I think to your point, both of you made the comment, people get really excited. It's like ready, fire, aim. And they launch these pilots without really thinking anything outside of how much can we reduce staff and how much can we reduce operating expense, et cetera. And they haven't thought it through fully. Can you talk about your approach when you've implemented artificial intelligence in an organization or on a client's program? Where do you start and how do you help the client with that?
Yeah, let me talk about what's changing a little bit,
Okay.
Mike. I'll dive into what we're seeing, how we're implementing, and I guess potential pitfalls to potentially avoid. See, you talked about a little bit use cases on case summarization, bottom of the tier productivity improvement, agent assist, and such are doing quite a bit. But the alternate perspective to that really is, see, AI is significantly concentrating complexity. It's not really eliminating the complexity, right? And what I
Right.
mean by that is what's really happening on the ground is all of this, the low-hanging fruit, the easy contacts, they're all getting resolved autonomously, right? Now, what that does is it leaves behind the most emotionally charged and complex cases that need to be handled by the humans, right? So roles naturally are evolving to start to meet these needs and standards. So think about roles like AI exception resolution specialists, who all they're doing are handling edge cases that are either too ambiguous or too high stakes of an interaction to let AI resolve it on the front end with confidence. Or like Dom talked about, AI assurance teams, who within like even regulated industries are verifying and approving AI decisions before they actually touch or impact a customer, right? Banking, healthcare, insurance all have these types of use cases as examples. We're also seeing the need to create entirely new roles, not morph existing roles into more advanced ones, to be able to help AI be everything that it can be and to fulfill the promise of the AI outcomes that we're guaranteeing, right? For example, at Movate, we've built what we call applied AI COEs tagged to pools of customers where we have specialized pods of human experts paired with what we call a digital twin to monitor, manage, and drive better AI outcomes. So there's progressive value generation and compounded outcomes, right? For example, we have a data analyst pod that would be paired with, say, a telemetry AI agent, a prompt engineer that's paired with a prompt regression suite, or a change manager paired with a communication bot, right? Because, like Dom said, none of this is ever a set it and forget it and everything's going to happen automatically. So the human layer brings judgment and accountability, and the AI then brings speed, pattern recognition, ongoing monitoring, governance, compliance, task automation, so on and so forth, right? And so that pairing is what allows us to measure outcomes in real time, improve systems continually, and scale from pilots to enterprise-wide execution in very structured manners, not just by a blind leap of faith, right? Now, where the rubber meets the road, I'll give you an example, like you asked for, right? See, one of our clients that have that's had quite a bit of impact because of this is where we're using AI and optical character recognition. We created an automated agent that does gift card redemption, right? The whole process was redesigned, overlaying this AI and OCR model for a very large gaming client, right? And in normalcy, when all of this is done manually, this specific contact types would drive a significant amount of volume, especially during the holiday seasons when you're already strapped for staffing. So what we did is we redesigned their workflow entirely to manage these contacts in a significantly more efficient way. So the AI agents manage the vast majority of the cases. Autonomous resolution has improved from where they started at about 6% all the way up to 86%.
Wow.
Handle time on the exceptions that the humans need to handle has dropped from 12 and a half minutes to 2.5 minutes. And overall cost per interaction for them has dropped by about 67%, right? Massive impacts on customer experience, massive impacts on agent experience, and also significant reduction in cost. So what we tend to get asked, and I shared this example quite a bit with our customers, is, okay, sounds super simple, outcomes are great. Why are so many clients really struggling, right? Why is adoption so low? Why haven't they scaled? And Dom touched on a few of these. The three things that we consistently see when we're consulting with companies, and none of these should be a surprise to anybody, but the first is absolutely data, right? Most organizations discover too late that their interaction history is fragmented, is inconsistently tagged, or just unreliable. You can't build a learning system or a language model, whether large or small, on a foundation that you can't trust, right? Don touched upon this as well, because the data knowledge foundations needed to support the long-term strategy don't necessarily come out or be seen correctly in the pilot. So if you don't structure that pilot with the long-term data knowledge foundation requirements in mind, you get bottlenecked by, hey, pilot was successful on this base level of data, it should just automatically scale, right?
Yeah.
The second, Don hit this as well, governance, right? Governance in so many organizations, it's painful to see, are just treated as an afterthought. Because truly, when you deploy AI, whether it's human in the loop, whether it's autonomous, whatever the case may be, every AI decision that touches a customer across every bit of information needs to be auditable. How was the call routed? Why a resolution was handled a certain way? What did the system or the language model know at the moment it made the decision? And what kind of a response was it provided, right? So when something goes wrong, which things will go wrong, you need to be able to trace back to exactly what happened and build in layers to control it down the line as well as fix it so that your results start to compound. And thirdly, and honestly, this is the most avoidable, but also the most overlooked, is the process overlay, right? Organizations just take a broken or an inefficient process and just put AI like a band-aid on top of it. And then they're all sitting there confused about why the results disappointed them. AI can't really fix a bad process. It just runs it faster and most of the time adds more light to where the gaps are. right?
Good
So
point.
what we see is the programs that succeed are the ones that are redesigned with these workflows in mind before actually choosing or deploying a technology, not after. And building all of these three foundations from the start is what gives clients confidence to scale successfully and really yield results that keep compounding over time.
That is good. That is good stuff. So let me ask you a question. So obviously, Dom, you mentioned this and said you reiterated it. AI's creating new roles. There's a lot of new roles that didn't exist before that you have to create within your organization. Is it incumbent upon the client to have to do the same thing and mirror that? I mean, or do you think a lot of them just think, hey, turn this on, it reduces costs, provides better outcomes, but they don't have to add additional layers of artificial intelligence roles or activities on their side? They just you have to do all that. What do you how do you see that? Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
I can start. I think that's absolutely the case. Like I said, I think they're given an edict in these meetings. They want to
Right.
go out and find a solution. They get in these curated demos, and that's the piece that's not discussed. It's not discussed exactly what that end user is going to need to make the tool work. AI is not a strategy, it's a tool.
Yeah.
You need to build a strategy around the tool in order to operationalize it and get the outcomes, some of the outcomes that Sid just mentioned. And a lot of these companies just don't have the bandwidth. They're not prepared for it. It takes a lot of learning. We started leaning in to AI about 2 years ago, and
Right.
we had a lot of learnings.
Yeah.
We made a lot of these mistakes that Sid and I both just discussed, and then we got smarter. So now we were forced, and it sounds like Sid has too. We've built this operational layer now. We've built this rigor around what it takes to make the AI deliver the outcomes, and we've been so successful at it now that we try to take that off of our partner's plate. Not only can we provide the AI, but if they bring their own AI solutions that they piloted, that they committed to for a year, that they're already paying for, we can use our teams, all those different layers, compliance, security, governance, the team that's going to train their people on it or our people on it, the team that's going to implement it successfully by doing exactly what Sid said, identifying the outcome you want to achieve from the AI, and then working backward. It's like planning a vacation. You figure out your destination, and then you work backwards on where are you going to stay? How long are you going to be there? What flights are you going to take? Same thing with AI. You figure out the outcome, and then you look at the workflows. Do you look at the data, and then you look at the governance and the security and the compliance, and do you have the QA arm that's going to be listening to the AI and making sure it's providing the right responses? And when it doesn't, because there will be times when it doesn't,
Right.
do you have a system in place to retrain it and then optimize it ongoing? I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling to think about, but the AI that we're using today is the worst version of the AI that we'll ever use. I mean, it's getting better so fast, and you have to be flexible enough from a operational perspective and an optimization perspective to continue to invest the time and the bandwidth into making sure you keep up with the technology. That optimization layer is critical. You just don't build it once, and again, I keep using the term, but you don't build it once and set it and forget it. If you want to continue to drive outcomes and better customer experience, it takes a whole new level of what I would call operational complexity that we've never seen before, and that a lot of our client partners or people out there don't have. And it's a lot of learnings. We can help companies speed up through that learning curve by leveraging our teams to do that.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with that, Dom. Michael, it's not intuitive to companies that are implementing it, right? And you do not see it when you do small scale pilots. A lot of these needs start to evolve as you start to scale this at enterprise level, right?
Right.
That's where a lot of the cracks start to get revealed. And the trouble is, if you haven't seen them, you're not anticipating that something's going to crack. If you haven't gone through that large scale, you are not building these preventative and governance roles that can help kind of fix issues before they become issues, before those cracks widen, hurts the foundation, and then things start to crumble on itself. Like Tom said, when we've done all of these implementations at scale for customers, we've seen them through pilots to steady state and grown it. A lot of these have evolved because of that experience, right? So we're happy to help customers kind of walk through what that would look like. And it's not what does the first 3 months look like? The first 3 months is getting everything off the ground, right? What happens in month 6? What happens at month 12? How do you continue to grow it? And Don made a fantastic point about us using kind of the worst version of AI
Yeah,
available
I
today,
hadn't thought of that's true.
as models evolve, as complexity evolves, as these solutions have at a pace like none other, cost of AI is also incrementally increasing, right? So this set it and forget it. I'm going to run on these models, and I'm also going to constantly pull in what the latest model is for all of these data sets is increasingly getting expensive. So being able to go and just in seeing that whatever I'm using as AI models today, I don't need to use the same models. I can lower complexity in models. I can optimize my AI spend. I don't need this many tokens. Here's how I generate this over a longer period of time isn't intuitive for people to think about when you're just launching a pilot. People like the Office Gurus and Movate have been through the journey for several customers, have done this time and time again, understand that this is what the roadmap needs to be, and therefore here are the roles that need to be able to take us on that journey smoothly and without friction.
You know what I love as I hear you guys talk is just the excitement around it. Some people are so afraid of it, or they don't want it, or they don't want to address it, but it's here. It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And to your point, while it may not be planned obsolescence, it's definitely obsolete 6 months from now. So it's going to happen, and you've got to adapt and evolve. And I hadn't really thought about that, Dom. So that was a good point too. All right. A couple other questions I want to get. This I think we've kind of touched on this, but where do you think many clients get this wrong? Is it, and I think we've addressed it, but if you want to expound on that a little bit, I think there's so much excitement around I think there's more money probably put into the marketing of AI solutions and the demo itself. And then all the pomp and circumstance that goes around that, the decks, the PowerPoint. So I think there's a lot with that. But where do you see most clients getting it wrong, or what would you tell them so they don't go down that path of making those mistakes? Dom?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think we've hit on a lot of
You
those
have.
points already. I think one of the biggest things is, what Sid just said, leverage your partners. We
Yeah.
tell our partners all the time. It sounds like Movate does the exact same thing. There's no reason for you to go through all of this pain. Leverage our experience, leverage our learnings, leverage our teams to help you drive the best outcomes possible. Focus on your core business and growing your business. We can help you with the AI piece. We can help drive these outcomes and make sure that AI does what it's supposed to do. It should become a force multiplier. I mean, you should,
Yeah.
with the investment and the right structure around it, you should, realize outcomes like we're seeing, like, 15 to 22% drop in average handle time with a correlated increase in CSAT.
Right.
Yeah.
FCR increasing, conversion rates on sales campaigns. We're driving those up 30% in some cases because of the use and the augmentation that AI brings to the agent. And they can realize those too for their people, for their captive people. We can help them do that. So I would say that's the biggest learning is, if you really lean into it, it takes time. Our mantra at TOG is, we need to be better today than we were yesterday, and we need to be better tomorrow than we are today. And that's through learnings. You're going to make mistakes, but Movate and TOG, we've made a lot of these mistakes already.
Yeah.
We've learned from them. We're ahead of the curve. So that's the biggest piece of advice that I give to our partners is leverage us. Don't think you have to do this in a vacuum. Bring us in and let us help you work through these challenges. Or if you're not with Movate or TOG, find someone that can help you through it.
Right.
Because it can be some tough learnings there and a lot of setbacks if you don't use someone that has a head start.
That is so, I mean, I think that's so important. Why would you? I told a client I worked with for about a year before we got him to the point of outsourcing, but all they want to talk about is AI, AI, AI. And it was some ambiguous terminology. And I said, AI can mean all kinds of things. And have you defined your business requirements? And they're like, well, we're not really sure. And I said, go to an expert. Let them hold your hand and walk you through that, because whatever mistake you're getting ready to make, they've already made it. And they can hopefully help you steer around that. Sid, do you have any thoughts on that before we go
Yeah, I'll
next?
actually give you a live example a little bit, right? Because we had a customer, great customer, heart's in the right place, head's in the right place, knows their business inherently well, better than most other people in that industry. They wanted to do transformation entirety, right? They're all in. They're looking at a partner like they looked at us. We had a discussion, super consultative, very involved. They spent time with us, which is also rare, right? Because they really, really invest a lot of time upfront. And when we went through the whole consultative process and we designed this whole model for them with front-end autonomous resolution, back-end amplification, huge data layer rebuild, a lot of analytics and insights. And we built all of it in a fully outcome-based pricing model, meaning I get charged only for contacts I resolve, right? Everything was done, super happy. We got the opportunity to present to their C-suite and to their board. The entire organization was bought in. All due diligence was completed. We went back and showed them certain things on base data that they had given us. What we found at that point was there were a lot of holes in what they had shared as foundational data, not because they had misrepresented anything. They were just sitting on bad data that they had from a previous relationship and had no opportunity to go in and cleanse the right sort of baseline, right? So being there, having done that, like Don said several times over, we very clearly and transparently told them that we're happy to continue down the path they did, but with the base data the way it is, they're not going to see the results that they were expecting to see. So we need to kind of revisit. Both of us agreed. Partnership continues. We're going to take a step back. We're going to create a 6-month baselining period before we start running into it, and then we'll create a whole new roadmap for them, right? Finding the right partner to be able to do that, have those trusted, transparent conversations, being able to take the step back and not really focused on all I need is that business. All I need to focus on is jump into transformation head first because it's what everybody's saying you need to do is extremely important, right? So partner that's been there, done that, partner you can trust, partner that has actually done similar types of transformation, that's willing to put skin in the game, are all important things for which I constantly tell people to lean on us, and sounds like Don does as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, Sid. I would add one more thing, Michael. I think as if you're out there buying the technology and you're in these demos, I think you're going to get excited. You're going to see an awesome product with great outcomes. I mean, you're going to be pumped when you're looking at this stuff, but you've got to take a step back and ask the right questions. I mean, a lot of these companies have a great product. They have a great model. It can do, and provide the outcomes they're telling you can do, but you have to ask questions about how are you going to get there with their product at scale. And, if they're really honest and transparent, they've never been in a BPO. They've never run a BPO. They've never sat on the other side of the table. They don't really know what it takes in an operation, all the things that can happen during an operation in a captive center or a BPO that could cause this model to do something it's not supposed to do, and that rigor that it takes to make sure it delivers the outcome. So I think you got to ask all of those questions. And I think the really smart developers have found implementation partners who have been there and done that.
Yeah.
We have several of our developers now that use us and to implement their solution for customers that aren't even using TOG for traditional BPO work. They're not using our agents to support their customers, but they're using our teams to implement the technology, to train their people, to get the buy-in, to optimize the tool once it's implemented. And the developers that are really smart and forward-thinking and want to keep their customers happy so pilots don't fail and they drop the solution, I think they're doing more and more of that. They're finding experts who have a lot of different use cases, a lot of different, proof points of delivering outcomes and using them as implementation partners to help them deliver a great solution.
And what I'm hearing you both say is it's incumbent upon you guys to lead them and hold their hand, because they don't know what they don't know, and why would they? They sell this product or do this service, and that's their expertise. So that's what I love about you guys and a lot of firms we work with is that's what they do. They're there to ask the questions the client doesn't even know to ask. So here's a question that came in, and I know the guy well who asked it. He's very sharp. So he probably knows the answer. He's probably wanting to see what you say, but how are you guys beginning to think about pricing models when AI becomes more embedded into the services you deliver?
Perfect. Let me just let me dive in there, right? Because I'll tell you what we're doing. I saw that question. I love that question, actually. So Richard, what we're doing for customers, right, is our models. We are putting our money where our mouth is, which we're building all of our solutions around an outcome-based pricing, right? So everybody's going to tell you there's a TCO reduction. Your TCO reduction is guaranteed. The way we guarantee it is a simple example. We charge our customers on a cost per resolved contact. Based on the analysis, based on the due diligence, based on all your data structures, like I just explained for the customer we did it for, we create what the baseline would look like, and we'll tell you X percentage can be autonomously resolved on the front end. Here's what you'll need to implement from a data layer perspective. Here's what you will see as productivity uplift on the back end, right? So we bake all of that in, and when we charge you a singular rate per resolved contact, the assumptions are X percentage needs to be resolved autonomously. Y percentage needs to improve from a productivity perspective. You'll get a per resolve rate year one. It goes down year two. It goes down year three. We agree to it contractually. And what that does is it drives the ownership onto us to go in and continually improve on the commitments we've made to you. So if I don't hit the commitments that I've made to you, I'm hurting because I have more human agents, staff to be able to support the volume. But inherently, the model is designed for me to go in and do better than what my commitments are, right? So I want to be able to resolve more autonomously on the front end. Obviously, there's guardrails around NPS, churn, CSAT, conversion, whatever the core metrics are for your organization, to be able to protect both parties from doing anything stupid that hurts experience in the long run. But that's how we do it in an outcome-based model. So we have more skin in the game, and the ownership of driving the models, running the outcomes rests on our shoulders. And we partner very cohesively with our clients to be able to get to that state.
It's good. Dom, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Sid nailed it. I mean, I think that's what we're all trying to get to as being a really great partner for our clients, is figuring out win-win models, and how to hold each other accountable to making sure the partnership is working. I mean, just like AI isn't a set and forget it, good BPO partnerships aren't a set and forget it either. It's a two-way street. We need to work collaboratively to make sure that we're delivering the outcomes and that the financial model works for both of us. So we try to be as flexible as we can with our model, and we're constantly looking for ways to drive more top-line revenue. I think that's been a big win for us in leveraging AI. Is we've built programs that the client hadn't even thought of before.
Wow.
Like missed opportunity programs and save programs where you have an agent who's talking to a customer, and maybe they're a new agent. They just miss an opportunity to overcome an objection the right way, or offer a solution to that client that could have saved a sale or saved an appointment. Now with AI can recognize that missed opportunity in real time, and in near real time deliver that feedback to a coach, where we can now arm a saves agent with whatever they need to overcome that pain point that the customer proposed on the initial call, and try to save that sale or save the appointment. We're seeing some huge gains in revenue recapture, which is just top line revenue that we're adding, to the partnership. And a lot of that's driven by what AI offers to us today, which is pretty awesome.
One thing I like that I've heard you both say, I've heard you say it in the past, I've heard you say it face to face, I've heard you say it over this call, is AI is generating a lot of excitement in your organizations. And I hear so many people that it's massive fear and it's trepidation. Do we want to go down this path? Is it disingenuous to drive call volume down? So I think that's the way to go about it. It's here. You can not like it if you don't want to, but it's here. It's not going anywhere. So you have to embrace it. How can you make it a win-win situation, provide better outcomes? That's just good stuff. I think that shows leadership maturity too on both you guys. And a lot of people we work with as well. Let me see. I had a few other questions.
I do want to touch on, while you look for a question, I just want to touch on the excitement piece. I think, overall, there has been a tremendous amount of excitement around AI. But I do think today there's a much healthier level of skepticism too, especially compared to like 12, 24 months ago, where every conference you went to, every panel discussion, every breakout session was around AI, and there was this feeling that AI was going to immediately replace large portions of the customer experience operations overnight. It was going to provide this huge ROI. And I think today, because of a lot of the stuff that Sid and I are sharing, That conversation has matured quite a bit. And I know we're talking a lot about why it's not working, but Sid's mentioned them. We're seeing them across several different clients. And we've implemented AI now across like 45 clients. And there is reason to be excited. There's never been a time in my career where, we can sit down across the table from a prospective client or an existing client and have a conversation with them where we're penciling out their ideal customer journey. And now we can take humans and AI and actually deliver on that customer journey better, faster, and more efficiently than we've ever been able to do. I mean, there is real reason, for excitement here. And in the operation, we've also never been able to provide our agents with a better experience. Give them the opportunity to maximize KPI attainment, maximize QA scores, deliver really great experience and make connections with clients, which means they make more money, attrition comes down, retention goes up. It's building new career paths within the BPO. I mean, I know we've talked about a lot of the missteps and things that people need to be wary of, but there are still a tremendous amount of reasons to be excited. I mean, it is definitely acting as a force multiplier when it's done right. And it's affecting all different levels within the operation, within the customer experience. I mean, it is an exciting time, and I just didn't want to let that pass. Just a lot of doom and gloom. I mean, Sid's mentioned a lot of great case studies too. It is an exciting time. There's no doubt about it.
That's the only way to look at it. Last question I have, and then we have another question I want to throw out from a friend of mine. There has to be, or how do you mitigate the fears that the advisors or the agents on the front line feel from watching, social media, the news, whatever, and hearing about AI is going to, had this conversation with my son the other day about AI. It's going to take away all our jobs. No, it's not. It's not. It's going to change them. It's going to alter it. It's going to provide probably better outcomes with respect to what you do, but you've just got to embrace it. So how do you mitigate that fear, or have you seen that fear, or have you guys gotten way ahead of that where your agents aren't scared they're going to lose their jobs tomorrow?
See, I don't think our agents are scared of having to lose their jobs, right? And the reason I say that is because what we're doing is a ton of proactive education.
Mhm.
This is not just education on, hey, here's all the AI tools we've developed for you. Here's what you can use to make your lives at work better. We've got a whole AI Center of Excellence learning lab. There's weekly enablement sessions. So how to use AI, how to leverage AI, not just in your jobs, but how does it bleed into your day-to-day life? How is it truly transforming? What are these new roles that are evolving? We're actually showing them career paths within the organization to be able to make it to those roles.
That's
right?
awesome.
So what employees are feeling is the same sense of excitement that Dom just explained. Not only is it making my life easier now for what I do, right? Nobody walks into work, and you've heard this 1,000 times if you work in the BPO, right? Nobody walks in wanting to do a bad job. So
Mhm.
anything that will enable you to be more successful during training, successful faster as soon as you get out into production, and feel like you're hitting all of your KPIs makes retention for us so much easier, right?
Mhm.
And then really dispelling the myth that AI is taking all of these jobs, everything's going away, right? New the somebody explained this over at a client to me as an example, right? The loom didn't take away weaving as an industry. What it did is it created more opportunity for more people to be able to get in and scale it significantly faster, right? So within call centers, they're going to be able to do bigger, faster, larger, wider, greater things, and not really worry about lose your job. So as leaders, as organizational functions, it's our responsibility to be able to prove to our employees that while AI is here to stay, it's there to make their lives better, and it's going to help accelerate career paths for them.
That's good. That's good. It's really good. Quick question. We have two more that just came in. One's a friend of mine. He's watching from South Africa, and he's asked, there's some maybe not as mature or maybe not as tenured BPO firms, or maybe they've been around forever and they're just now starting to stick their foot in the water with respect to artificial intelligence. What would you, if you had to pick one specific solution, if you had to kind of, you're starting down this journey, down this path, what solution would that be? And this may
Yeah,
not be one size fits all. I don't know, but
I can start. I think where we found the quickest ROI and the best outcomes at scale is tools that augment the agent experience. And you touched on that, Michael, earlier. Things like Agent Assist, where now an agent comes out of training and they have a live coach with them on 100% of the interactions. The live transcript where a customer rattles off when they're frustrated, they rattle off all the things they've already done to fix their problem. In the old days, an agent's, here's the problem, they're searching for the FAQ. The customer, they stop listening to the customer.
Yeah.
They find the FAQ, the customer stops talking, and they just start reading the FAQ. And they ask them the customer a question that they told them 5 minutes ago. And it just creates more frustration. So that live transcription is a big help. Custom note maker, which gets rid of basically after call work. So that acts as like a force multiplier where agents can handle more interactions. The insights and analytics, you think about how you used to deliver actionable insights to your clients. You try to find a specific disposition code, hope the agent dispositioned the call correctly, and then manual QA starts listening to these 7 to 15-minute calls to try to find something that they can deliver back to the client. And that could take weeks. Now we can do that in minutes, and we can scan hundreds, tens of thousands of interactions at once and deliver actionable insights. So I think things that augment the agent and staff experience, that's where we started. That's where I would start. I think those are quick wins. You still need that operational rigor. It's still not set it and forget it. All the stuff we've talked about still needs to happen, but I think it's the quickest win. And then you gradually get into IVAs and then autonomous agents, but start with making your agents' lives easier and your staff smarter. I would start there.
I have seen that to be the biggest gain with respect to people that use AI. Makes the biggest difference in the shortest amount of time. Sid, your thoughts on that really quick?
No, I agree, right? That's your quickest and best bang for your buck, to put it almost crudely, for where you want to start implementing AI and seeing improvements, right? I would, however, challenge Emmanuel a little bit to also think about this. See, if you're a BPO supporting several customers, what you need to be thinking about from an AI, what do I need to do from an AI solution perspective, is what is best for that specific customer, right? I don't like to think of as an AI as a one size fits all carte blanche approach that's going to solve everything for everybody. For some customers, like the example I gave you on code redemption, there are agent assist solutions that we do. But the one use case that we solved for them on the front end with automation had the absolute biggest ROI from an agent experience, customer experience, and cost saving than any of the other things would do, right? So in that use case, productivity is already there. The implementation of agent assist solutions are already there. It's driving a great ROI. But the best solution for them was what was in the front end, right? For another customer, it might just be operational intelligence. How do you use, like Dom talked about, AQM? How do you use automated interaction analytics over the overarching system to be able to provide insights to the customer, to better products, to better service, to better support them? It is heavily variable, right? And I don't say that to be intentionally vague, because the way I think HFS put it, right, there's 4 layers in which all of these outcomes get distributed. One is at the very top is the performance layer, right? So what are strategic outcomes for your clients, right? How do you drive new business? How do you improve your competitive positioning at a performance layer? The second is personalization. How do you tailor experiences based on context, channel, and outreach for the customer's need? The third really is prediction. How do you get more proactive, preemptive? How do you predict, anticipate what customer needs are and solve them before they happen, right? So don't wait for a point of friction to happen to be able to support them better. Anticipate it and resolve it before it happens. And then the bottom tier is productivity. So if you look at it from an experience standpoint, most organizations, like Dom and Michael said, focus heavily on the productivity layer, which is because it's the immediate, quickest bang for your buck from a ROI standpoint, right? But the incremental compounding value that being able to predict, personalize, and drive performance adds, Dom touched upon that earlier as well, driving top line revenue for organizations. all of it has significant value to your customer. So think about it from that perspective when you're driving transformation or prioritizing what you want to start with.
That's good. Then one more question we have. Do you think AI is going to impact the lowest offshore geographies more than maybe mid-cost, nearshore, and onshore jobs? Do you think it'll have a bigger impact on the low-cost areas, the offshore?
Not necessarily. See, where we're seeing AI have more of an impact, right, is where there is more complexity, more manual work involved to be able to get to an outcome. That is the maximum impact it's able to drive right now. What AI is also doing is it's opening up the ability to do certain types of work in certain geographies that you might not have considered before. So there is a geo shift, there is a mix in geographies where all of this gets executed from. But I think the most impacted nature of work are the highest complexity cases.
Yeah.
And if I'm to simplify that, right? If you're optimizing a case that's customer service that's 5 minutes in AHT, how much can you really optimize or take out of it? A minute, right? Which is great. It's a 20-minute improvement. But we've got very complex enterprise support cases that we do. We've got case management cases that deal with multi-functions, multi-groups, right? Average resolution time can be 7 to 12 days. So when you're able to take away all of that, it's able to gather all the information, it's able to put it in meaningful formats for agents to be able to consume and then take action on. You're reducing cycle time from days to hours, right? It's still hours, and traditional BPO terms seems long, but the amount of impact you're able to make to be able to compress that customer experience journey is significant. So I think the complexity of cases have more of an overlay than where they get serviced from. That being said, AI is blurring the lines of a lot of what should be onshore, what should be nearshore, what should go offshore. If I'm offshore, can voice go somewhere? Should non-voice go to a different location? I think all those geo-specific boundaries are starting to get increasingly blurred.
Good. That's good stuff. So I want to land the plane. I've got a bunch of other questions. I will summarize these and send a Q&A sheet out to all attendees or people that register, I should say. I can't summarize all this in a sentence. I don't think I can do anything in a sentence, but I think AI is really, it's not replacing operations. It's changing the way we operate is really what it's doing. And it's creating new roles. And there's a lot of reasons to be excited. And when I was thinking about what do we want to talk about, it made sense. We can talk about AI for 10 years. And by then it's already changed. We've changed the topic. But I really wanted to understand BPO firms that have embraced it, such as yours. How are you embracing it? And what are you seeing? What are you hearing? You guys have shared a lot of great content, a lot of great advice and direction and information. I really don't have much to add other than I just continue to emphasize to people that AI is here. It's reshaping things. It's not eliminating massive jobs. And even where we've seen it, I think there's one major case study out there where they think they let 7,000 people go. They've already rehired half of those people. And I think Gartner, I was reading an article recently that said that next year will be the great rehire of agents. Because I think we pulled the trigger too fast to try to just eliminate people. And so anyway, I'm not saying that never will happen. I don't think it'll happen in our lifetime. Definitely not ours, I don't think. So Sid, do you have any parting words or anything you would want to have people walk away with?
Yeah. And you're right? AI is both absolutely amazing at what it can do and what it's able to accomplish and what it already has, and terrifying at the same time from several different layers, right? I think the difference that will make successful implementations and successful scaling every time is how we plan, process, implement all of these solutions. My takeaway to anybody listening really would be build transformation solutions from a customer experience standpoint, right?
Right.
Don't forget to keep the customer central, the customer experience transformation. Think about it as their journey, identify the points of friction, make it seamless, make it simple for them to be able to get what they want as quickly as they possibly can. And when you do that, whatever you expect from a transformation outcomes on stats like NPS, churn reduction, CSAT improvement, AHP reduction, all of that will happen. And ROI will follow 100% when done right as a natural byproduct. Do not build your transformation strategy keeping ROI front and center of the decision-making process. Always think of it as the byproduct that you will get out of it.
So wise. I think a wise man once said, began with the end in mind. That's what it sounds like you're saying. So start there and go backwards. Or Dom, you said you're going on a trip, go backwards. Dom, any parting thoughts before
Yeah, I
we
think you guys nailed it. I think, right now the companies that are winning with AI are doing exactly what Sid said. They're not the ones that are spending the most money. They're not the ones that are implementing the most tools. They're not the ones that are out there just sharing that they use AI without any real proof points. They're the ones that are integrating it, very intentionally and thoughtfully all around improving both the employee experience and the customer experience. And if when you can nail both of those things,
Yep.
the ROI just happens. And you build the right team around it. So that's what I would say is be very intentional about why you want to adopt and implement AI. Don't just rush to it. It will fail.
That's good. So I want to thank you both. I know you're busy guys and you've got large staffs and a lot to do. So thank you so much for your time. And for the people that joined, thank you for your time as well. If you have questions afterwards, reach out to all three of us or one of us or any of us. We're all on LinkedIn and we'll be glad to follow up and answer any questions outside of this one too. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.